Welcome back to the garage. It's final reassembly day.
Well, it's about time to start getting it all back together. This is the part everyone's probably been waiting for. So I'm figuring out which bearings are which based on the list. This whole box of bearings and races and such. But since I didn't have shims to go off of, I'm gonna have to guess, I guess, and see how this works out. So here we go. Oof, didn't hit record, but hey, pressed on, ready to go. Excellent use of that sleeve. Now, the real fun part begins. Getting the pinion depth setting is critical to everything that follows from this point on. It's an all new ring gear, it's an all new pinion. I have no idea what it needed to be, and I have a vague idea of how this process even goes. But it's time to pull out that Miller tool and figure some things out. And since I still lack the correct instructions for this Miller tool, I'm kind of having to wing it. And until Metal Shaper decides to actually do a video on how to set up a basket case axle using that tool, I'm left with reading the manual and kind of figuring it out. So here goes nothing. As an aside on shims that go on the outside of the pinion for setting your preload, Metal Shaper's right. Sometimes you just get an absolute junk set of shims. They're supposed to be differing thicknesses. Here's just one shim. That one is 8. That one's also 8. The rest of the stack, they're all 7.5-ish. They're not the differing sizes you need. I think I can make this work. I'll need to verify with my rotational torque wrench. But yeah, there are better sets out there. I think Joe's Motor Pool is the one that makes the actual correct ones. These are all anywhere between 7.5 thou to 7 3/4 thou, and then these two are 8. So that's disappointing, but I'll work with what I got. Since I have the tool, I'm going to try to use the Miller tool to figure out the initial shim pack for the pinion. However, don't take it as instructional. This is just me. I'm a guy who found the tool, got the instructions, read the manual, and figured out how to do it. I think I'm right. It feels like I'm right, but don't take my word for it. Also, full disclosure, I've done this a couple of times now, and that's how I think I figured it out. Here is our Miller W99. Message for today, persistence. I was able to get a copy of the instructions from a guy on the CJ2A page. Thank you, Bruce. And I was also able to find one of these. They're out there, guys. If you search for them, you probably have to look in lots, machinist lots on eBay, but they're out there. This is now a fully complete tool. Yes. Anyways, let's start with the basic setup. The cup is already in the housing. There's no shims behind it. This tool should tell you exactly what you need. So, per the instructions, to set up the tool, you use the W101 dial to the master gauge. This is a CJ2A semi-floating, so it's a B size. All right, with this portion assembled somewhat thusly, we now need our master block gonna set that on our nice flat reference surface. This part of the tool has a machine surface that sits on. Sits roughly like this, and now we need to get the dial indicator onto that block and zeroed. It says the recommended tension is a half a turn of the dial and then zero it. So, all right, it says 1/2 turn of the dial. That is honestly easier said than done, but I've got it tightened up just about. There is just a little bit, that's actually about a hair over half. We're gonna make sure that gets tightened up real good because that is our measuring tool here. With that tightened down, you don't want to bump this or anything, and then we zero the gauge to that. All right. Skipping a few steps, the pinion is installed in the case. First and foremost, we're going to be measuring off of this surface. You want it to be clean. This is already clean, but it's got a little bit of oil, a little light machine oil. That's where we're going to measure from. We take our W101 tool. We take the gauge we've carefully set up for this. Put that on the tool. We'll tighten this to the end of the pinion. And now we set the tool against the end of the pinion here and we take our reading. So it's kind of similar to how a modern pinion setting tool works. You kind of get the center set up and then you actually do this against the head of the pinion. This is actually going to go side to side along here. So basically you slide the gauge along until it gets to its lowest point and starts turning back the other way. That is actually right at 25. So with no shims, that tells me that I need to put a 25,000 or 1,000th shim pack in here to have this correctly set up. So, off camera, let me pull this pinion and pull the cup out and put 25,000 shims in it. 25,000 shim pack, let's get that reinstalled. Pinion bearings, yoke, all that back on. Let's take another measurement just to confirm, trust but verify. Alright. So if I'm doing this right, I believe that this should indicate 0 at its lowest. Camera is kind of attached, but there it is, 0. Now again, as a note, my pinion here is a +0, so it should be right at standard. There's no extra little math to do with a +3 or a -3 or whatever sometimes you run into. So that should be, in theory, good to go. All I have left is to set the rotational torque using a rotational torque wrench and some shim pack. Well, I thought I had this figured out. Unfortunately, there is not nearly enough resistance on this. So I'm got to adjust my shim pack. Dang it. This is like the third time. Alright, let's get this carrier rebuilt. Now, just to kind of hold parts together, I did piece it back together, but it's not really together. There we go. Rotate the top gear. Whoops, I guess I kind of bent that shim. Fortunately, it doesn't matter because it's not going back. All right. Bad spider gears are out, along with the utterly destroyed shims. Let me go hit this with some brake clean it up. Overall, the interior surfaces of this basket case carrier are fine, but there's just a couple of spots there and there that I'm just gonna dress up. This is a 1000 grit pad. Way smoother. This inside surface is fantastic. This one, not so much. Let me kind of give it the same treatment. Is this the right move? I don't know, but when it comes to everything about this carrier and this axle in general, is anything I'm doing the right thing? My friends, the great experiment. Omix ADA spider gears. Omix is legendary for their really, really bad quality control. So, I get to test these for you, and if they fail in 100 miles, well, it might be my fault if I assemble this wrong somehow. Dang, right out of the bag, brand new, there's a ding in it right there. Catches the fingernail. I'm gonna have to smooth that out a little bit. This is probably the place where I'm gonna get a little bit of flack for some people. I know that this is the absolute perfect opportunity to throw in a little lunchbox locker, but at least for the time being, I'm in Central Arkansas in the middle of Little Rock. I'm not going off-road just yet, so actually, when all this is said and done, I'm gonna have another Dana 41 that I could throw a locker in and just swap axles or something. And whatever these are coated in, it's kind of gross. Alright, with those cleaned up, I don't know if this is the right move, but it seems to me that this shouldn't be a dry fit. It's gonna get oiled up later, but I'm gonna just use a little bit of assembly lube and put this thing together. Not much, because I don't really want to. Surely this is not going to be enough to affect clearances when it comes to testing backlash and such later on. Surely not. This is probably the lightest assembly lube I've got. The rest of it's more of a grease with some tackiness to it. Now this is where you gotta be careful. This is where I messed up reassembling the crappy ones. Had this off by one gear tooth, and they did not go back in equally. make sure these flat washers go back where they're supposed to and don't get smashed or something like this one would have. Just a little bit to help that along. Spacer down the center. Tap. That's through. And the locking pin. All right. That feels pretty smooth. It's noisy. A little bit of backlash, but that'll probably get taken up by oil as soon as this thing actually gets oil in it. All right, let's install the new ring gear. Uh-oh. Well, that's an unexpected complication. The pin is too long. I can't actually get the new ring gear over it. Wow. I didn't see that one coming. Alright, so I just stopped recording because there were a few four-letter words to be said, you know. So I guess if I'd looked at this before, I would have caught this. The old pin, call it 4.83 inches. The new pin, .96, and I call it 4.9, almost 7. Well, yeah, 4.96. So that's enough. So I could just put this on the belt sander and remove a bunch of material. Because on one hand, I don't want to reuse this pin. It's the right length, but I can actually see significant wear right here where it runs on the spider gears. That's very significant, especially on this side. So I guess we're gonna be sanding some material off of this. Yeah. Well, let's see how much it takes to cut that much off. I think maybe just from this side, but we'll see. Alright, that's not nearly as much as I thought I might need, but let's do a quick check here. Old one as before, about 4.8. New one was quite a bit more. Now it is 4.9. So I think it was what, 4.8, yeah, 4.83, 4.84-ish. So now, if we take the new one, that theoretically will work. So let's assemble. tap that through. All right, so theoretically the ring gear will actually go on now. And it does. Problem solved. Alright, that pin should be in quite securely. I know that there's different opinions out there, Metal Shaper especially. I don't disagree with his opinions on this one. I would love to do a safety wired installation instead of using these old style clips, but those are remarkably hard to find with the hole for the safety wire. But I do have some grade 8s instead of these grade 5s that were on here. So we're gonna go that route. Well, I can see why Metal Shaper just kind of goes a different way, finds the correct bolts in like an aircraft type bolt. Because it took me 5 minutes just to get this thing kind of bent, almost bent into the right shape, just to be like this. And I still got to get these just right to where the tabs will fold up and lock. I don't think they'll lock very well. These aren't perfectly correct. The heads are not nearly big enough. Here's one of the old ones. There. And you can see how one of the old ones would have locked in there better. But the reason I'm not too concerned about that is I'm putting these things kind of for redundancy. But what I've got is, you know, a modern solution to modern problems. Put some of this on there and it just won't be an issue. But I'm gonna wait until I'm 100% sure this is ready to put that on, because it's kind of final, you know? Well, here's my test fit. Again, very much not final. Looks good with the new ring gear and hardware. I did have one little issue with one of them having a burr on the thread. Had to go chase that and clean it up. That almost looks like it might work. One big caveat about how this is set up. The safety straps are how they were originally. I know that it's not really necessary these days if you do it differently. I'm throwing them on there, I don't know, because why not? But these are the incorrect bolts. This is just some grade 8 off-the-shelf stuff, and they're not quite right. You can see the head size is different on what's supposed to be on there. Now, the closest I can find is that this is like an AN6 bolt because of the what is it? 32 thread per inch fine. Basically, yeah, it's an AN6 dash something, and I need to go measure how much this is versus how much this is, and that'll tell me which AN6 to get. Some of them are drilled though. I want the ones that are drilled through the head, but they're usually drilled through the threads, and since that's where the engagement is when you put it through the ring gear, I don't know if I like that. So I'm gonna figure that out, but just understand that this will probably change, and I'm doing it this way, not red Loctiting it down for a reason, not putting these tabs up yet for a reason. It's because I need to get the correct bolts. And there's a vendor out there that wants like $8 per bolt. That seems kind of steep. I'm not gonna name names, but you know who it is. Fast forward a little bit, everything is torqued to 55 pounds with the right type of bolt, and you probably can't see, red Loctite. Welcome to the Department of Redundancy department. Is this overkill? Quite possibly. Is it smart? I don't know. We have red Loctite, great solution. AN6 bolts, these are AN610 specifically. Safety wired, but I've used the original safety straps. So if somehow the red Loctite fails, we still have the safety wire. If water gets in and the safety wire disappears, we still have the safety straps. If the safety straps disappear, well, I guess you had a lot of water in there and your axle's probably toast anyway. So, and of course every bolt head marked once it was torqued to spec. This should be good. Well, on a note of disappointment, that's where I'm going to leave this one. It's a little bit more challenging than I was expecting to get this guy set up. And let me tell you why. So as it turns out, it's a lot more time consuming to throw some shims in there, hammer the bearing down, get the yoke tightened on, test the rotational torque. It's wrong. Take it all apart, throw another shim pack in, put it back together. It's still wrong. And take it all apart again and repeat. But that's the process. So what I'm gonna do is what Metal Shaper said to do, is to get a set of setup bearings. So once I get that taken apart again, I'm gonna grab that bearing and the two carrier bearings for this guy, and I'm gonna grind out the inside and have those be my setup bearings. I didn't think I need a setup bearings because I'd probably ever do one or two of these Dana 41 rear axles, but I think it'll save time and probably be worth it in the end. So on that disappointment, thanks for watching. I'm gonna set up my shiny new set of setup bearings, and the replacements will be here Tuesday. And with any luck, this will only be a 6-parter instead of the planned 4-parter. And I'll have a rear axle in the end that is actually able to run. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.